Shalom to the elect of the children of Israel. All praises and glory goes to our mighty power, Yahweh. Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father. Yahushai is the name of the Son. Ba'ashem in the name of the Son. You got to get to the Father through the Son, right? Because he was the sacrifice for us to return back to our power. That's why we say all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, in sincerity and truth with his great gospel. And shalom to the elect. And double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Salutations to the elect men feeding the sheep of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, in sincerity and truth with this great gospel coming out of our Bible. And that's the order you got to come in. That's the order you got to come in, man. You got a lot of people talking about all praises to the Most High. What's his name? What's his son's name? Right? It's like they're scared to say a certain name. So they don't want to offend. So all praise to the Most High. The mightiest of mighty. Yeah, motherfucker. What's his name? What's the Lord's name? What's his son's name, if thou can tell? That's what the scriptures say, right? And the name was not given to everybody. The name was not given to everybody, man. Most of our people, they ain't going to get the name, right? Most of our people, they're going to be stuck into what other ideologies and false religions. False religions and false worships. Right, you got a lot of jakes, they worship themselves. Right, here you are in a society where this society is crumbling down. Who do you think the first gonna be fired? The first to be put out? You Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. Right, they've got rid of you ninjas, you black ninjas from the workforce. So now it's their time to get rid of these women, these black women. At the same time, they get rid of these Hispanics also. Right, because this is not your rest. Let's get that. The book of Micah 2 verse 10, it reads, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction." Even with a sore destruction. For you to make it in this society, you have to sell out to this devil. You have to bow down to this devil's ways, to his system. In other words, you have to be wicked. You have to be wicked. You have to do wicked things, right? That's why this whole society is going topsy-turvy, right? It's falling apart because wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, right? Ain't nothing good coming out of this place with nuclear fucking destruction. That's the only thing we're waiting for. That nuclear destruction, the Lord to return and what deliver us from what all this wickedness that's happening before our eyes. It says Micah 2 and 10, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction." Talking to who? You Israelites. Right? Who is the Bible talking to? You Israelites. Who is the scriptures written for? You Israelites, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? The scripture says it's going to be a time where you're going to return back to your power. Right? Through what? The preaching of the gospel. And that's the times we're in right now. You returning back to your power. And with you returning back to your power, you're separating yourself from this wicked society. This wicked captive society that you're stuck in, right? Let's read this here in the book of Baruch 3 and 8. "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity." Where are we at? We are in our captivity, right? That's why all your rulers are what? Heathens. They try to give you a fake black man named Barack Obama. That's a heathen, right? That's a Cushite. He ain't no Israelite, right? And before that, it was none but Edomites and Edomites and Edomites, right? Because this is their kingdom. "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us. The Lord sent us to be a slave for disobedience, for breaking the laws and statutes that he gave to Moses to give unto the children of Israel. And we broke them laws, and what was our punishment? To be scattered amongst these other nations, to be what? A slave for a reproach and a curse, and to be what? Subject to payments according to all our iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power," right? And that's why we're stuck like Luke, right? We're waiting for the Lord to come and save us. This is the book of Baruch 4. Let's start at verse 1. "This is the book of the commandments of the Most High, and the law that endureth forever." Forever. They said the law has been done away with. If we don't have, that was the ancient times. I'm reading it again. "This is the book of the commandments of the Most High, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. That's why so many our people are dying, because they're not following after the laws of the Lord, and they're not trying to please the power of who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Turn thee, O Jacob. The only people who could return back to the Lord is who? The children of Israel, the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's why it says, turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it, walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be what? Illuminated, right? Give not thine honor to another, nor things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation, right? Give not what holy is unto dogs, right? It says, and without our dogs, right? These other nations, they're not important. They're like spit, a drop that falls out of a vessel, right? The Lord's only dealing with the children of Israel. That's why the children of Israel need to repent and return back to their power. And through the spirit and power of the Lord, only the elect is going to return back to their power, because that's how it was set up to be, right? Two parts there are going to cut off and die here in Babylon the Great. O Israel, happy are we, for the things that are pleasing to the Most High are made known unto us. Whoa, let's read that again. O Israel, happy are we, for the things that are pleasing to the Most High are made known unto us, right? Not unto other nations, right? The Lord gave us the laws and statutes. Be of a good cheer. Be of good cheer, my people, the memorial of Israel. Right? I'm going to keep reading. It says, ye were sold to the nations not for your destruction, but because he moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. Ye were sold to the nations not for your destruction, man. The Lord ain't going to destroy Israel in this captivity. Right? Only the wicked Israelites is going to die on this side, right? Only the wicked Israelites who are not going to repent and return back to the Lord is going to meet their demise on this side. But what it says, the elect have obtained it, but the rest were blinded. The elect have obtained what is truth, the knowledge, wisdom of the Lord, and that's the only thing that's going to guide you back to your power. It says, ye were sold to the nations not for your destruction, but because he moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto what? The enemies. For ye provoke him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to the Most High. Right? These false fucking gods you kept worshiping in these different captivities. Right? Causing the Lord to get jealous. Right? And what happened? The Lord said, you will not be my people, and I will not be your power. And now we're stuck in captivity until what he chooses to send his son back to deliver us and save us. That's what we're waiting for. I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah 47. Let's read verse 4. It says, as for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, and the Holy One of Israel, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance. I have given them into thine hand, right? The Lord gave us over into the hands of our enemies. Not for our destruction. Not for our destruction, but really for a punishment, for a correction, right? For a chastisement, only for a little while, till what he sent his son back to deliver us. But in this captivity, this devil ain't show no mercy, right? It says, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into the hand of given into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient have thou heavily laid thy yoke. Right? These devils don't give a damn about a young child, an elderly, a senior citizen. Right? You see how they treating the prisoners in jail. Them motherfuckers ready to die. They don't give a fuck.
Prisons are becoming America's biggest old people's homes. Now, the country that locks up more people than anywhere else must deal with the consequences of a growing prison population. Growing old in prison is hard.
They just struggle with the reality of just, being in prison. They don't believe they're in prison. They don't know why they're in prison. That's the biggest struggle I see most of the guys have,
Samuel Baxter is an inmate here at the California Men's Colony Prison in San Luis Obispo. Almost every day for the past 4 years, Mr. Baxter has helped elderly prisoners get dressed, eat, and get about prison. It is a confronting job.
He was an elderly gentleman, about 70, and I should take him over to the clinic to get his insulin shot. So I remember one morning I came down, and he was standing in the cell, and I think he had a shoe in his hand. And he was just standing in the middle of the floor crying, you know. And I tapped on the door, and I called him by his name, and he just looked at me, and he was like, "What am I doing here?"
If you think your child may have autism,
A shoe in his hand. And he was just standing in the middle of the floor crying, you know. And I tapped on the door, and I called him by his name, and he just looked at me, and he was like, "What am I doing here?"
in America, some 2.2 million people are behind bars, and the prisoners are getting older. The number of people over the age of 65 who are in prison has doubled since 2007. 2 million people are behind bars, and the prisoners are getting older. The number of people over the age of 65 who are in prison has doubled since 2007.
You know what? I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah 14. Let's start at verse 6, right? It says, "He that smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and unhindereth," right? You got these devils, man. They set up legislation to put you Negroes and Hispanics in prison, what, forever? Forever, like we say in a bunch of videos. That crack rock epidemic. Who set up the crack rock? These devils, right? That was set up in a college institution. They created that to put in what you Negroes neighborhoods, you Hispanics, so you could sell to your own people. And then what happened? They started locking you up and putting long prison sentences on you for what? For one bag of drugs, one bag of weed, one bag of crack, while the Esau driving around with trucks of cocaine, planes of cocaine, getting rich in America. Right? The things you went to prison for, the devil got rich off, right? It says, "He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and unhindered. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing." It says, "Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no fellow has come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming, and stirreth up the dead for thee. Even all the chief ones of the earth, it have raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations," right? The Lord is preparing what? A judgment for Edom, to the point where everybody's about to turn on the devil, right? Everybody's about to turn on the devil for what? His wickedness, right? It says, "All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us?" Right? And that's what's happening, right? Esau is becoming weak. Look at Esau, man. He set up the other nations to be in poverty. Now he's going through poverty. He set you Negroes and Hispanics to be dope fiends and drug addicts and alcoholics, and now that's what he is. He's a dope fiend, a drug head, alcoholic, a homeless peasant, a bum on the fucking streets in America, right? He's losing every goddamn thing, right? All the traps he set for you, what? He done fell into them too also, right? There's a verse for that. It says, "The pomp is brought, what? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, in the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and the worm covered thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakest the nations," right? And which didst weaken the nations, right? That's the spirit. Bring the nations down low so he can be set up high, right? It says, "For thou hast said," I'm going to read that again. Let's get this. It says, "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake the kingdoms," right? You're looking at these Rothschild people. Looking at the elites and their family, we looking at these weak ass Edomites like, these are the motherfuckers ruling? These are the people over us, right? Because they got the minds of the people through what? Money, through what? Religion, through fear, right? Through deceit, right? It says that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoners. That opened not the house of the prisoners. Esau don't give a damn if you're an old man dying in prison. He gonna let you die in prison, right? Because don't forget, prison has become big business in what? Babylon the Great. In Babylon the Great. And the devil don't give a damn about your sufferings, your tribulations, the pain and misery that you're going through. First off, he was set up to bring you pain, misery, and sufferings. He's doing his goddamn job. It's your job to return back to your power so the Lord could alleviate some of this punishment from above you. Right? That's the only way things are gonna change. Right? For you to return back to your power. I'm gonna read the book of Baruch 4:24. It says, like as now, the neighbors of Zion have seen our captivity. Right? Because guess what? They was the ones who helped forward our affliction. Right? They're the ones who helped. The Arabs sold us. Edomites sold us. Right? You go to Proverbs. What is that? The 83rd chapter. Psalms 83. Right? It talks about these different nations that came against us. Right? It says, read again, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen our captivity, so shall they shortly see your salvation from our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of his everlasting, right? And it talks about the strangeness of our salvation, far beyond what they have imagined, right? The Lord's come, man, we came here on slave ships, we're leaving here on spaceships. Shalom.